What's up, gamers? NanMans here, and we've got some more modern action. This time around, we've got some more meta-specific decks. If you're familiar with the Pro Tour that finished up with Edge of Eternities as well as Modern Regionals, these decks should look familiar to you. Of course, we are talking about our Goryo's Vengeance versus Blink here. Now, there is a couple variations of Blink running around. Of course, you have your Esper versions, you've got your Jeskai versions. Goryo's Vengeance used to be kind of a red-green variant, red-green-black, and it's sort of focused in and hardened in on this sort of Esper. A big reason for that is because of Psychic Frog. So let's talk a little bit about what you can expect with Goryo's Vengeance versus Blink. It is going to be a very grindy matchup where both players are going to be trying to play it close to the chest a little bit. It's, think of any sort of blue matchup. If you're doing like a wizard battle where you're both just trying to resolve a bunch of stuff, it's going to be a little similar to that, but instead of it being trying to resolve a bunch of spells, it's going to be trying to resolve a bunch of creatures. Yes, there are going to be spells that players are going to be casting and flickering and trying to do some stuff related to that, like things like ephemerates and things like, to help you blink your creatures. But the main goal is for the Esper Goryo's player to be able to get like an Atraxa, get a Grizzlebrand, one of those big old scary friends, into the graveyard, and then bringing it back with that spell, Goryo's Vengeance, which lets you return a legendary card from your graveyard to play. Creature gets haste, and you stack it at the end. But like if you're bringing out the, of course, Atraxa or Grizzlebrand, you're going to be able to do quite a bit of work. And then if you have things like Ephemerate, those creatures will stay around, right? They're not going to disappear. Same thing like if you have Consign, you can consign that trigger and make sure that doesn't go anywhere. Now, the other side of thing, the Esper Blink side here, we get to see the Overlord of the Bailmark coming out here to help fill up the graveyard and helpfully get some tools and cards to be, well, I guess it's going to be a whiff. Here is 3 lands and a Fatal Push. So normally you're going to be getting a creature off that, I think it says non-avatar, all right? Is that how that works? I don't know. So it's, that is definitely one of the ways to think about it. It's like you fuel up, ready to go there. But, one of the things that if you're going Esper Blink, which I am playing in this, is going for, Overlord of the Bailmark. You're getting access to, Psychic Frogs. But I also am doing the Ketramose package. I like the Ketramose stuff, so I'm utilizing that in mine. Not everybody is. Like I said, a lot of people are starting to experiment with the Jeskai Blink, especially if you were watching or playing at the regional event. 2 Jeskai Blinks made it into the top 8. It's very similar to this, except you get access to things like Flage, Ragavan, stuff like that. But both Goryos, the Esper Goryos and the Esper Blink, are rocking out with the new Quantum Riddler, or Rizzler, as a lot of people like to refer to this Sphinx as. But it's so good. It's a 4/6 with flying. When it enters, you draw a card. If you had 1 or fewer cards in hand, you draw 2 cards. You can warp it in for 2 mana or hardcast it for 5 mana. But who's going to be casting it for that 5 mana early on in the game? None of these players. But we see a Thoughtseize is going to get to get some information. Now, seeing what we're up against, we've got a Solitude Flicker Wisp that is more than likely going to try to get played here if there was a land that gets top deck. But seeing the grab on the Relic here is very interesting, because up to this point, the Blink player has no idea what they're up against because there hasn't been any indication. It looks like it could be a mirror matchup, all right? So it's like, okay, so what, if someone's stealing Graveyard Hate, you could start to have those like red flag moments. Like what people grab in these moments of being able to disrupt you is very much an indication of how they're trying to play their game. All right, another trigger. This time we do get some tools. You could see a lot more hits here. Of course, we've got the Riddler, another Solitude, and of course our Emperor of the Bones going to be there, as well as a Thoughtseize that goes to the graveyard. But a lot more tools at the disposal of the Blink player. So we'll do another Surveil Land. Surveil Land's coming across for both players here. Still no confirmation though, so that is going to be one thing that these players are looking for here. But of course, if you guys are not yet subscribed, make sure you guys are subscribed, because we do have, of course, our gameplay footage for you to be able to enjoy, but we're also trying to sprinkle in some other content. If you guys hadn't seen, we did, of course, our how to get artist signatures at MagicCon. That video came out earlier in the month, a couple weeks ago. We also just had on the Monday our attending MagicCon as a featured content creator, what that looked like, what it was like hosting our modern event at the convention there, as well as kind of the goodies that we got, and got to see a bunch of other creators attending the event there, a little bit behind the scenes with the creator photos and stuff. And a lot of people were commenting like, wow, there's so many creators. And you know, that's the great thing about these conventions. There's so many people that are able to attend that you can highlight so many different creators. Like me, who was like, you know, modern is my format of choice, and I do a lot more long form content with these types of videos here. You guys can be able to see our gameplay stuff every single week. Usually it's Monday and Thursday, but we're starting to sprinkle in some other stuff. But yeah, here's the Solitude. Let's start to strip this away here. There's the Ephemerate. And so this is what we were talking about at the beginning of the video, is it's really going to come down to who can stick and keep a creature onto the battlefield. And there is the Riddler coming out. All right, that'll go into the Warp Zone over there, ready to be cast for its full mana cost later in the game. But getting some more resources is definitely kind of, you know, how well can you keep the resources in your hand while also maintaining a board presence is going to be a lot of what we see from these two decks here. Looks like we're going to be seeing another Impending Doom take place here. And yeah, it is specifically a non-avatar creature. So now you get to pull anywhere from the graveyard, not just the ones that get milled. So that is one of those like, oh, okay, is there anything early on that we care about that we want? Yeah, Solitude. I feel like it's going to really come down to who can be able to utilize their Solitudes best in here. And if our opponent is attempting to go for, like, you know, the Goryos and stuff like that, being able to kind of sneak our stuff in there and put a stop to them is definitely going to help. So now we do get to see both players are going to kind of riddle it out at each other, and Spider-Man meme go, yep, you're going to draw cards, I'm going to draw cards. But Solitude stuck around. So that's a turn of at least doing some little bit of swapping on life totals here, at least swinging 3 across, gaining 3 with the lifelink. So definitely setting our Esper player up. But you see them kind of trying to navigate the best position here. You know, this player's new to the Goryo's deck and new to this matchup here. I'm also new to fighting this matchup. Like, I'm used to kind of some of the older versions of Goryos or different versions of Goryos. So seeing this, it's like, okay, how, you know, what sort of pathways do we need to go for it? I mean, one of the benefits of playing like a Blink style deck, it's very grindy. So if you like grindy style of decks, the Esper version, the Jeskai version are the way to go. Jeskai has a little bit more like push power by having like the Ragavans and things like that, where you can just sort of like push for a little bit more damage, where the Blink is definitely a lot more like, okay, we're grinding for sure. All right, getting into kind of that turn 5 here for both players, starting to build up their mana base here. Ketramos going to come down. What are we at with the exile count? So it looks like 3 cards plus the 2 Riddlers in exile. So 5 cards total. Not enough to be able to attack or block, since it is a needing 7 total. So that means another free hit there, and we'll do a complete swap. 21 to 18 now. All that life that was gained off of the Solitude initially is gone. All right. Any more Surveils going to get used here? Yeah, this is the interesting thing where the Goryo's player doesn't have to spend resources at all, right? They're, oh, you see, they've got the Goryos, they have the Atraxa, they've got an Ephemerate, but it's also like, okay, they need a discard effect. And they've already exiled their draw effect in their graveyard here. So they're just looking for one more to help them out. Flicker Wisp coming. Blinking this. Trigger. One or more cards are put into exile. Lose a life. Draw a card. So we get to do a little bit more resource gathering here. Going to the end step. Overlord's going to come back. Triggers. We're going to mill 4 cards. Pick a creature from our graveyard. Yeah. That, of course, non-avatar. You can get a Planeswalker back, too. Which, there are versions that are running Teferi main board. I think that's a good way to go. I'm trying mine out in the sideboard. I have 2 in the sideboard. But I'm also running, Servandums in mine. Like, I like having pet cards and stuff like that. And just, I don't know. Worst case scenario, I just sideboard them out. But if I need kind of to go low to the ground, or I'm playing a little bit more grindy and can utilize some of my effects to set myself up with, I'm doing all these blinking effects, it's easy to build up a Servandum. Also, the life gain off of it helps counteract the life loss that you might lose before you get Ketramos online here. So we're going to get rid of this Felia to try to do this Solitude on this. Basically, the coasts look clear, but we get to see a response. Solitude pitching the Atraxa here, exiling the Overlord. We're going to do an Ephemerate in response. And we get to see some life swapping all over the place. Now the board is completely clear. We talked about that again. It is who can maintain the board presence and who's going to utilize those Solitudes to kind of get them there. All right, Solitude hitting. Ketramos now able to do some attacking. All right, so we missed a trigger here. Ephemerate's going to go off on our turn. Ketramos should trigger. We should lose a life and draw a card. Ketramos, and then we could have Flicker Wisp also exile a land here and do it again. And draw on another card, lost another life. So 2 missed triggers. The downside, we talk about this all the time, of like if you're playing decks, and I like to rotate decks that I play. So sometimes I'll make these little misplays and mistriggers and things like that. But that was one of those things that's like, oh man, that's 2 extra cards that really could have made a big difference here. Bring the beats. Flicker Wisp not attacking, even though the hand made it seem like Flicker Wisp was, but so 7 total and some life linking across the board. So big swings taking place here, especially after all that Ephemerate life, or Ephemerated Solitude life came across. All right, Goryo's Ephemerate in hand. Yeah, I love the land choices both players are using for these decks. The Oil Slick, Phyrexian, Swamp. We've got the kind of Secret Lair Metal Edition. I don't know the exact name for it, but I have those lands in my Garth One-Eye Commander deck. Love them. All right, let's see. Main phase 2. What else we got here? Also, there is that whole thing about, do you try not to overcommit? But it is game 1. You know that there's not going to be some crazy board wipe effect that'll take place. So being able to play a Riddler here, get that back in there, get some more resources. All right, get a breeding pool. The Singleton breeding pool in case we get enough mana to hard cast an Atraxa. Which is, very possible. Is that the only green source that the list usually run? Probably, yeah? Yeah. Yep, that's not going to do it. A little bit of a counter magic there, not enough. So we're going to be going into sideboard mode for these players and getting ready for game number 2. Of course, our sideboard stuff is cut off. We do not spend much time going through and showing that because we're not doing the live coverage for the matches anymore. It's just all matches here on YouTube. We have been sprinkling them in over on Twitch every so often, where we'll just kind of rebroadcast and go through them all at once and have those playing for people to enjoy, but that's not happening here. We're just going through it all. All right, now I feel like the same sort of game plan is going to be the case. Sideboard wise, though, like consigned to memory could be very useful here. If we see kind of Thought Seizes getting used, Mystical Disputes is a really good one. You know, like there's a lot of tools that both players can kind of use to help fight. Surgical Extractions could be great, especially if you're fighting on either side here. Like if you have a surgical, if you're on the Goryo side and you're going to strip something that's in the graveyard because, you know, the Esper Blink players running that Overlord of the Bale mark, so they're putting stuff in their graveyard. So like there's a lot of kind of shenanigans that you can kind of do to fight your opponents here. Now, of course, if you're interested in either of these lists, make sure you let me know. Most of them are on our Moxfield link, so you guys can check that out. Down below, we have our link. Also, if you're wanting other ways to help support the channel, we do have, of course, access to, you've got like the super supporters here on YouTube. Also, our Patreon stuff, we're starting to revamp and upload a little bit more behind-the-scenes content and other goodies that you guys can find over there on that side. Dauntseize coming out here. What do we got? Double Frog, Double Solitude, and a Riddler. All of this is bad. Like, all of these are really tough to deal with. So it's kind of a, like, all right, what sort of ways do we have to answer these? And what is going to be the biggest problem to deal with? Part of it is, like, the unknown of what do we have in hand that we can utilize to kind of fight over this. Part of it is like, okay, how much advantage can you get if you have like a Riddler here? If you go for the Frog, it feels like let's kind of try to keep ourselves safe. Is that play? Is if we can get rid of one of the Solitude, that's one less that we have to worry about. And that also means there's no white sources to pitch the Solitude here. But Double Frog means it's very likely we're going to see a turn 2 Frog. And you can run away with a game if a turn 2 Frog sticks and is uncontested the whole time. Plus, being able to have a continual discard source is really good. We saw in that first game there where Atraxa was just sitting in hand for the longest time waiting to kind of be free and unable to. So now we get a way to kind of allow that to happen. All right, Psychic Frog. I like the art of that one, like the crazy eyeball version of it. Ooh, Frog versus Frog, but different arts. You'd think I would have gotten the second art at some point because I have two decks that run Psychic Frog, but I have not. I mean, how much are those other arts for him at this point? I mean, you can get like even the retro borders. Okay, those are like non-foils are about 20-25 bucks. Foil version of it is about 40. But the retro is about like 12 to 15. Of course, a lot foils will jump that up, but yeah, a lot of different options. All right, Frog coming across, discarding happening between the players. Let's see if we can get it to stick. Are we going to see any flying actions? No. All right. No damage coming through. Both sort of hug it out. But the attack means that our Esper Blink player now gets to be the one to attempt to get a card. Okay, yeah. Draw a card. Is there a way to deal with the enemy Frog, though? All right. Oh, pass and turn, responses on the upkeep. We will see a fetch. Another Surveil land, trying to set up. We talked about how good surveilling is in, you know, in this matchup. Well, just in Modern in general. Like, it really has become the way to play. The more information you get, the better. Can you hear the cats in the background? Hi, Annie. It's very happy to hear about all of the Goryo stuff. I guess he's a Goryo player. All right, Faithful Mending. That was the discard effect we got. Gain 2 life, draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards here, and then it's got the flashback for 3 mana. So definitely gives you some extra chances to be able to set yourself up. And we see an Atraxa and a Solitude going to the graveyard here. So do we get a Goryos? Oh yeah, we have the Orim's Chant kicked. No casting spells, no attacking. So that also blanks the frog there. All right. What do we got? 2 Riddlers and a Solitude, it looks like, in hand. All right, where are we at here? 3 cards in hand versus 3 cards. 4 cards. Okay, that's also another important thing to note, too, is when you're doing a frog versus frog battle or you're facing a psychic frog, it's very important to kind of keep track of how many cards your opponent has in hand and whether or not they're willing to do a discard battle with you. All right, we're going to attempt to give the frog flying here. See if our opponent's going to respond to that. All right. Okay, so there's the flying frog. Response to the activation. Here's a fatal push to try to clear the way with the frog and help push for damage. So frog does die. And then 2 more damage coming across. More card advantage going for our Blink player. And again, it's like, who can stick a card? Ooh, Relic. Okay, the power of Ketramos. So again, a lot of Esper Blink lists might not be running the Relic package if they're not running Ketramos. But if you're running Ketramos, you know, it's great to have some relics in there. Continual draw engine. Also, with a lot of the graveyard shenanigans people have, whether you're on Goryo's Vengeance or you're on like a Belcher plan, like, you know, Relic can do quite a bit of work. All right, exile card. What are we gonna see? Ooh, get rid of at least one of the Solitudes. That seems good. All right, so no 4th land for Goryo's player. They do have Celestial Purge. All right, let's see. Cheeky Peeky. Are we responding before that? Well, there's a draw. Oh, yeah, so you see, like, the debate. It's like, do we get rid of the frog? Do we go for a draw, gain life here? Yeah, I think it's time. Exile target black or red permanent. I need to get a couple more Celestial Purge. That card's so good. Every time I see it, it's like, yeah, this card's great. There's so many things that it hits right now. Especially if you're, like, there's a reason Esper runs it, or the Goryo's list run it, because, like, you get to get rid of things like Blood Moons. You also get to be able to get rid of your opponent's annoying, pesky things that they've got, like Psychic Frogs. Or if you're in a mirror matchup, get rid of the Traxas and stuff like that. All right, Overlord. And get back a Riddler here. Still keeping that 1 mana available to pop a Relic if a Goryo's gets cast here. Hey, there's the 4th land. Do we go for the Riddler here? I mean, that gives us 2 cards. Yeah, I guess it's the debate of, like, do we dig for something else? But I feel like, yeah. Okay, you do the Surveil first. Set yourself up. We've talked about this before. Like, when I was running, like, my blue-white energy control list, being able to fetch up, or even the Jeskai version of it, where you're fetching up, you know, doing the Surveil stuff, and then you're like, okay, tune the narrative. Let me draw whatever I looked at the top. Yeah, the island looks so good. There's the Riddler, 1 card in hand, so 2 cards getting drawn off it. Yeah, Quantum Riddler is so great. Like, the 6 toughness is really what makes it so good. Ooh, okay. Prismatic Ending going to attempt to be used, which then means we're going to pop it. And there's another little mistake. It's not both graveyards. You pick the player. So, mistakes were made this match. I'm noticing them a lot because it's the mistakes that I'm making. But if you're noticing any other ones, please let us know. We love being able to hear from the audience members of what they're noticing. Because it's so much easier when you're sitting there watching at home. You're like, oh my gosh, look at this moment. Because a lot of players maybe didn't notice it in the moment. Like, I didn't know that I made these mistakes. But watching back, it's easy to be like, okay, cool. I'm going to do my best not to make that happen again. Kind of commit that to memory. Hey, Relic only picks 1 player, right? Target player gets rid of their graveyard. Not that it makes any difference here. Even if Ketchermos came out, it would not like matter too much. Really, the only thing that matters is the Overlord shenanigans. Oh, a hard cast on the Riddler. Feel like the coast is clear to do that. End step. Let's tick down the Overlord. All right. Fetch. Riddler versus Riddler. Gonna stare each other down. Get card advantage going. So now we're getting into that sort of grind to a halt moment where both players are like, okay, we're here. We're ready to go. But neither player can really get through for damage. So it's enough of a kind of setup here that we're okay. But now the Goryo's player's tapped out, so leaves a little bit of a wiggle room to kind of be like, oh, so you're not going to be able to respond? All right. Overlord relics still active. We've got of course, Flicker Wisp coming out. So lots of tools. Oh, there's the Teferi going to the graveyard there. All right, Thoughtseize going to check to see, is the coast clear? Do we got to deal with anything? Ooh, okay, there's the Servandum pitch for Solitude to help maintain board presence here. And then that leaves one little friend to get exiled away or discarded here. Okay, now that kind of advantage meter that we've talked about before is completely on the Blink player side of here. I mean, big hits coming across. There's a lot of mana available, but 2 cards in hand. I mean, there could be a hard cast Solitude here. Bring the big boys across. Attack trigger. Let's mill 4. Oh, the other Teferi. Ophelia. What other goodies do we got? Oh, a Solitude. Okay, that's pretty good. So, sending across 9. I guess you could have gone for... Okay, even if we went for like the full team and tried to kill our opponent there. Faithless Mending. Gonna get used. Gain 2 life. Draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards. It's real hard. We've got the Goryos. Like, we're in this, like, weird moment of being like, ugh. Now we can't pitch the Solitude. So we're left with, do we save the Goryos? I mean, there's the relic out, so we really shouldn't be saving. So let's pitch. I don't know. I like keeping the Solitude in hand. Like, worst case, we hard cast that. Oh, they pitched it. I think that, like, the mindset of going, I'm playing Goryo's deck, I should keep Goryo's. I'm playing Goryo's, I should keep Goryo's. But it's like, with the relic there, it doesn't... It's, like, never going to work the way we want it to. All right, flashing it back again. 7-all. Okay, yep, there's a Grizzlebrand. Oh, there's the Atraxa. How much are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're 1 mana short of hard casting the Atraxa. Attempt for the Goryo's Vengeance. Let's pop that in response. Oh, yeah, so he says if this is a land, I'm hard casting Atraxa, and we're refilling. Yeah, you've got your Solitude, but I'll at least have a full grip ready to kind of react and interact with what you're doing again. Oof. Tough stuff, but that match really came down to who could maintain the board state, and we got to see that sort of pendulum swing back and forth a little bit between two sides of there, but it really was like once the Blink player got control of the board, they were able to kind of run away with the game there.
I got the turn 1 Atraxa in the yard. And just
yeah, the turn 1 Atraxa off the Surveil is wild. If you're like, all right, turn 1 Atraxa in there, let me just top deck my Goryos from here on out, and we just like basically win that game. And that is one of the power things that you can be able to do, is like you can just be able to just hit those moments and be like, yeah, perfect, we did it. This is exactly exactly what we needed to have happen. But sadly, that was not the case for this match. But still exciting to see the Goryo's list on camera. It's been a while since we've seen it. Of course, we have lots of other games coming up in the near future. Lots of matches. If there's a specific deck that you'd like to see featured, let me know. We're working on, still having lots of variety of games and matches to be able to enjoy. Some kind of like smaller off-meta decks, some more meta decks. It's just sort of as much mix as possible for people to enjoy here when we are playing Modern, because really there is a deck out there for everyone. There's so many choices to be able to pick from, and so it's really kind of just picking which one you want to play, or picking color choices that you want to really mess around with. But that's going to do it for us here today. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you all next game.